So we got another update with the college football playoffs, and this is something that I've talked about a couple times on this channel. I'm not saying I've been, outsmarting everyone ahead of the curve. It's something that I've recommended that they should go to, and they've directly, for the exact T, gone to it. And you see on the screen now that the college football playoff 12-team format will move to a straight seeding model this fall. So what this means is that the top 4 teams in the country will get the buys. It will no longer be winning your conference gets you an automatic bye. Instead, it is the top 4 teams. If I was looking at more stuff in depth initially when this first came out, winning your conference only gets you a automatic bid to the playoffs, but instead now no longer being a automatic bye. And this is something that I've recommended. I've said this a couple times. I made a video just not even 2 weeks ago on May 10th talking about the college playoff format when they were talking about potentially implementing 4 more teams to get to 16 teams. I said I think they need to refine what the playoff format is first before moving to 16. And one of the biggest things I said was the format, the seeding format of first round buys and so forth. I think it was a bad look, whether you like it or not. I think it was a bad look for the NCAA to have teams like Boise State, like Arizona State, have first round buys over Ohio State, over Penn State, over Texas. And we're going to be looking over at what the old and new format is. So the bottom of the screen you see is the old format, the new one is above. And it makes to me more sense. Again, I understand some people are upset and they think, well, it takes away the point of winning your conference because, what is the benefit? And to me, it's a little iffy because it's almost similar to the NFL and what they tried to implement with the potential seeding wise, where they go off of the seeding based on records like the NCAA is doing now, and division winners would no longer have an automatic home game to start off the playoffs. Instead, it's based on, again, record-wise. And it's a little bit hypocritical because I didn't like that going to that, but at the same time, too, I'm advocating for this for the college football playoff style. So, again, a little bit hypocritical from me. But to me, this looks better. That's how it should be. It should be the top 4 teams in the country get the bye. And you could say it's more biased to the SEC and the Big Ten of how the teams are looking, especially if you look at this past year. It is, and I think it is. There is some merit to it. I don't like that there is what they're trying to push for the 16-team format of having more Big Ten, more SEC teams in the playoffs and kind of shafting the rest of the conferences. I think the Big 12 will only get 2 teams. Other ones would be, I think, 1 or 2 teams as well, and then I think first 3 or whatever how it played out as would get it as well. But the majority of the automatic teams getting in is SEC and Big Ten. I don't like that. How it should be. It should just be the straight top 12 teams in the country, similar to how they're moving towards this, for this format. So that's how it should be. But again, that's a different discussion once we get to 16, whenever that comes up. But sticking with, again, what I have for this format here, I absolutely love this. Like I said, I think this solves a lot of the problems that last year had. If you look at the matchups, they seem a little bit better, a little bit more competitive, I think, all around outside of the first round with maybe Tennessee and SMU wouldn't be a big game to watch, I should say, sorry, more so Ohio State and Arizona State. That'd be a huge blowout. That'd be almost like worse than what happened with Tennessee. But I think you look at the teams all across the board in the first round, it would be competitive. Clemson, Notre Dame, I think would be a really good game. Boise State, Indiana, I think would be a really good game. To me, it's more of an even balanced game as opposed to going against Oregon. Arizona State, Ohio State, that'd been a blowout either way. So the same result for Ohio State and SMU and Tennessee. I would like to lean towards Tennessee having a blowout on that one, but it could be somewhat competitive. I'm not saying it's going to be intense at all. I mean, you look at what they did against Penn State, they really didn't put up too much of a fight. But you look at that, even the teams that do advance, whoever you want to pick, it's, to me, this seems like a little bit more balanced scheduling type, if you want to say per se, or just better pairings, better matchups in the new format as opposed to the old one. Like I said, it didn't make any sense that Boise State and Arizona State, in terms of a competitive standpoint, if you don't look at that, in team-wise, that they get a bye over Penn State, who is the 4th best team in the country, over, who else was, Texas, who was the 3rd best team in the country. It just didn't make any sense with that. Now, it wasn't horrible because they both had home games in the first round, so there is that. But again, I mean, I think to me that this is more the simple common sense, at least in my opinion, route to go with, of just having the top 4 teams in the country have the buys, and then the rest play each other. I think there's no issue with that whatsoever. Again, going back to what people were saying about just being biased towards the SEC and the Big Ten, we've seen even in the top when they had the 14 format for the playoffs that there were teams in other conferences that made it. You had some in the ACC, you had some in the Big 12, you had some in in other leagues as well. Like kind of your outlier teams, if you want to say Washington, Cincinnati, Michigan State, even though that's big time. I'm just saying like just different teams you don't usually see in that side of it. So it's just, I think it's a small step forward in the right direction. Again, something that I really advocated for in my last two videos, pertaining about the college football playoffs. So it is definitely exciting to see that they kind of follow exactly what I was saying with in the format. So again, I think also too on social media, the vast majority of people I've seen love this idea. Again, there are some people who push back on it, and they are valid to a point of what they talk about. But I think overall, again, I think the majority of people are excited and do agree with the decision moving forward of how the next format is with that. I mean, are there more things you can fix the playoffs? I'm sure, but this was kind of the biggest thing I had that needed to be fixed, was just kind of the seating wise and who gets the bye. So good start for the college football playoffs, and I think hopefully for this new implementation of it that we get a much more competitive all-around playoffs, because last year was overall disappointing. I think it was really up to like the third round when overall wise for both games they were competitive. Outside of that, and then when you got to the championship game, it wasn't really that exciting, that close of one. So really one, maybe two rounds were entertaining all around, but for the most part I think I'll stick to what I said was it was a letdown. I think it was a little bit of a failure of the 12-team format the first year of it. So that's why I kind of, when they talked about the 16-team format, it was getting a little too ahead of ourselves, because we need to refine this part of it before we jump to adding more teams. So again, right step in the right direction, and we'll see how it is for the next playoffs coming in this upcoming season.